today on the CTV News at 5. The PCs make big promises for secondary education on the campaign trail. Plus, touching tribute. How the Toronto Blue Jays honor the victims of a murder-suicide near Claire's home. And the suspects in a nightclub shooting make their first court appearance.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Alberta's Minister of Advanced Education and Technology says if re-elected, the Conservative government will commit over $55 million to building a much-needed trades facility at Lethbridge College. Lethbridge West candidate Greg Weddick made the announcement today at his campaign headquarters. The proposed Trades and Technology Innovation Project would provide $55.6 million in funding to Lethbridge College for new facilities to expand the scope of trades education in southern Alberta. It's part of a $650 million capital funding promise from the Conservatives for post-secondary institutions.
You know, it's an incredible boost for Lethbridge College, but you're absolutely right. The real impact will be on the business community across southern Alberta. And you know what? We need these trades. We need these technical positions to both grow our energy economy, to grow our agriculture economy, and to build the infrastructure that we need. So it's really exciting.
Oh, this is an incredible announcement. You know, Premier Redford and this government really understand the need for a skilled workforce to drive our knowledge-based economy for the future. And this investment in Lethbridge College will really help southern Alberta.
Weddick says if elected, the shovels could be in the ground in 2013, with the first students walking in the halls in 2015. And there's one more name to add to the ballot in the riding of Lethbridge West, David Walters. He is representing the Alberta Party. The party has now got 38 candidates running in the provincial election. And voters in Lethbridge East, as well as Little Bow ridings, can hear from candidates tonight in election forums. The Lethbridge East Forum gets underway 7 p.m. at Lethbridge College's Fredericks Theatre. Little Bow candidates will go head-to-head in a forum at Picture Butte Community Centre. It also starts at 7. Wednesday, voters in Livingstone-Macleod will hear from their candidates at a forum at Cowley's District Hall. That gets underway 7 p.m. Dory Rossiter, 20 degrees tomorrow, and then rain.
It's April. What can I say? You get all kinds of seasons in April, and we're cashing in on that. Temperature-wise, we don't do bad, though. And you know what? It is really dry here in the Lethbridge region, so a little rain isn't going to hurt. April showers bring, you know, Mayflowers, etc., etc. I'll tell you all about it in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. A very special tribute in Toronto for 2 baseball players and their friend who were killed in a murder-suicide near Claire's home in December. Mitch McLean and Tanner Craswell were aspiring baseball players training in Lethbridge, and last night the Jays honored the pair and their friend Tabitha Steppel. The sole survivor of the attack, Shayna Conway, was at Rogers Centre along with the victims' families.
This past December, Canada's baseball community was shocked and saddened by the tragic deaths of Tanner Craswell, Mitch McLean, and their friend Tabitha Steppel. Elite athletes from Prince Edward Island, Tanner and Mitch had an immense love for the game of baseball. Second baseman and shortstop, side by side, both young men excelled at the game, enjoying success at the provincial and national levels, and played together with the Lethbridge Bulls of the Western Major Baseball League. Both players were leading the way for a generation of young Canadians to realize that baseball is not just an American pastime. The Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Club and Baseball Canada would like to take this moment to remember Tanner and Mitch and Tabitha Steppel. With us tonight are the Craswell and McLean families and Shayna Conway, Tanner's girlfriend and sole survivor of the tragedy. Here tonight to represent Baseball Canada is President Ray Carter. On behalf of the Toronto Blue Jays, Ricky Romero and Brandon Morrow will now present team-signed 2012 jerseys to the families in memory of Tanner and Mitch. Through the Jays Care Foundation, the Blue Jays will also make a donation of $10,000 to Kidsport PEI in Mitch and Tanner's names. The funds will allow youngsters in the Prince Edward Island area the continuing opportunity to play this great game of baseball with the same passion that Tanner and Mitch displayed. Thank you.
Meanwhile, 3 men facing attempted murder charges at a shooting at a Lethbridge nightclub made their first court appearances today. The 2 men from Edmonton and 1 man from Toronto face at least 10 charges, including attempted murder and careless use of a firearm. Police say early Friday morning, 3 men went into the Studio 54 nightclub with a handgun. One of them shot a 30-year-old Ottawa man in the stomach at close range. The victim is listed in stable condition in a Calgary hospital. The suspects were arrested Friday afternoon at a Lethbridge hotel. Police say the attack was targeted and drug-related. All 3 men charged will remain in custody until their next court appearance, April 17th. And a man RCMP are calling a person of interest is now being questioned in the death of a 30-year-old Invermere man. Police and EMS were called to an Invermere home around 1:30 in the afternoon on April 3rd. The body of 30-year-old Corey Jarek was found in the driveway of the home. RCMP say the man had attended a house party the night before and had been asked to leave. The Columbia Valley RCMP detachment has now handed the investigation over to the Major Crimes Unit out of Kelowna.
It was suspicious enough that we would call in our Major Crimes Unit out of Kelowna, and they attended the scene and they've taken over the investigation.
RCMP say an autopsy has also been ordered. He spent nearly 2 decades battling the oil industry, but now he has lost his most recent battle against cancer. Wiebo Ludwig claimed that oil and gas developments poisoned his family and animals and was responsible for his daughter's miscarriages. In 2000, he was convicted of bombing and vandalizing gas wells near his Hythe farm. In January of 2010, Ludwig was arrested and his property searched in connection to 6 pipeline bombings near Dawson Creek. He was never charged. Ludwig was 70 years old. Well, residents in South Lethbridge will be without power briefly tomorrow. City crews will be working to replace a power pole needed for new construction, which will leave residents in Sandstone and Prairie Arbor Estates South without power for a short period of time. It's scheduled to begin at 9 o'clock. And a new opinion poll suggests now is the time to buy a new home in Alberta. The survey conducted by RBC indicates that Albertans are the most positive of all Canadians when it comes to buying a home rather than waiting until next year. Record investment and output from the oil industry combined with low interest rates account for the optimistic views, but a university economist warns the attractive conditions for affording a mortgage may not last.
There's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm to purchase a new home now with the low interest rates. However, last week the Governor of the Bank of Canada announced he's not adverse to raising interest rates to provide financial stability to the Canadian economy because of the high debt ratio that households are carrying. So for you, the new home buyer, you must be aware these low interest rates are not going to last forever, and you must be prepared for a change in your monthly budget with higher interest rates.
And given the current housing prices, the polls say that 69% of Albertans say it makes more sense to buy a house now, and that's 10 points higher than the national average. The No Kill Alliance is doing their part to help control the pet population for low-income pet owners in Lethbridge. NOCA received a 3-year funding extension from the City of Lethbridge. Under the program, 4 veterinarian clinics can continue to offer discounted services for those who qualify. The goal: help reduce the kill rates of cats, dogs, and rabbits. The program is now in its 7th year and receives 150 spay and neuter requests each month.
So for a lot of the clients that comes to Uplands Pet Hospital that aren't that low income bracket, it's really important. In many cases, like true pet lovers, you know, they don't necessarily have the funds to do sterilization, which is the key to prevent an overpopulation.
The 4 clinics participating include the Coaldale Pet Clinic, the Part Pet Clinic, the Tabor Animal Clinic, as well as the Uplands Pet Hospital. They're stacking the deck at the Lethbridge Lodge. The Lethbridge Regional Bridge Tournament is underway. About 160 players were on hand for the 1 o'clock session this afternoon. The tournament has drawn players from across the prairies and some of the northern states as well. 3 sessions run daily up until Sunday at the Lodge. Organizers say the turnout has been about what they expected, but they're hoping they can attract more players as the week progresses. And if you've never played, they will teach you.
The game of bridge is more complicated than virtually every other card game, and there's bidding and play theories and things you have to think about, and that's what you need to learn for those 8 weeks of lessons that we give.
The next session opens tonight, 7 o'clock. In this week's edition of Farm TV, Mike LeBlanc looks at a study being done by a Lethbridge researcher on our native grasslands.
The prairies of Western Canada were once described as an ocean of grass. Today, Dr. Ann Smith, a research scientist at the Lethbridge Research Center, is using remote sensing to see what's happening on the native grasslands. We spoke to Dr. Smith at the Lethbridge Ag Expo about the research.
In order to do that, we came up with a project that has 3 different components, all to do with native grasslands. One of them is to measure the extent of the grassland. Where is the grassland? The second one is to look at how productive the grassland is. Can we measure the amount of vegetation there? And the third one is looking at mapping invasive weed species. So we have colleagues who are involved in biocontrol. One of their questions is, how can I measure how effective my control program has been?
The research uses several remote sensing systems. Are you using the technology to track other invasive weeds?
Right now we're only concentrating on leafy spurge. There has been other work done in the United States on nodding thistle, on baby's breath, on a number of different species. But we decided, since leafy spurge is a problem, or it's invasive in southern Alberta, that we'd like to look at that. Well, actually right now we are trying to establish whether we can measure those things. So we go out, we do a lot of field work, we do a lot of ground truthing.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
And in the markets today, the TSX closed down for the 6th day in a row. Here are the final numbers.